As you can tell from the initial graphics, this is something a little bit different and also definitely something that needs a lot more work, but this is the next level that I want to go to, so I'm trying something new. We're growing here, and to that end, I brought somebody in to have a discussion with about a topic that we'd actually talked about before, and I was like, hey, you know what, this might be something fun to talk about for a show like this. So it's her name is Wendy Ann. She has known me my entire life. She is one of my best friends, and she is also Mom. So you've heard me talk about her many times, but here she is.
Hi!
So
yes.
it's her first time doing this format as well. So like I said, we're both learning.
Learning, yes, and I'm so exciting.
You're so excited.
I am so exciting.
That's my sister. Was that Amber used to do that?
You.
My sister used to do that.
No, it was him. He didn't know I'm so excited. All he could say was, I'm so exciting. I'm so exciting.
I'm going to coin that term. That's exciting. It's a thing. We should all be saying we're so exciting. Because anyway, so what we were going to be talking about, as morbid as it sounds, at least initially, is death.
Yes.
We were going to be talking about death. And the catalyst for this was I actually had two friends pass away this past spring, one in March, one in April, Hannah Goodwin and Larry Smith. I didn't know at the time that they had passed within a month of each other. I didn't find out about Larry until a little bit later, but and both of them hit really hard. We weren't proximity close. It wasn't somebody that I, had like an everyday interaction with, but it was just, they were both people who just the relationship was very close. And especially, Hannah, because she actually passed away of cancer. So I was talking with her during that struggle. But essentially when I was mourning, when I was grieving, it was this odd sensation that it wasn't just the fact that they're no longer here, because there's that part of you, especially if you believe is what we do, that there's heaven, that there's that relationship with Jesus, that proximity is, and that's worth celebrating actually. And that's why you have celebration ceremonies instead of just funerals.
Funerals, right. Yeah.
But that it was more than that. It wasn't just for their sake. It was us, and it wasn't just that I felt like that they were gone. It was that there was so much more to them than just the person. Yeah,
they have. I have actually seen this a couple times, but and you can Google it. I don't know what you'd look up, but it would be under sciences, where they can measure energy from your body, different energy fields. But I've actually seen that energy field. In one of the terms you can use, it's a sphere around us. And so everything within a person that you were mentioning about their potential and everything who they are, what they desire, what they wanted to do, what they've done, everything about them, what they were created to do, is within that sphere. And when they die, pass, whatever word you want to use, that sphere.
We're talking about audio things and what have you.
Don't touch the microphone.
No, it's only this. It's only that. That's
their sphere disappears from the earth. And I actually experienced that, saw that with someone who died. This was a number of years ago, who died. But their sphere didn't disappear right away. All of who they were and all of that potential and all that they were created to do and to be didn't disappear right away. It took a week or so for it to completely disappear. And I was very acutely aware of this person and the sphere and all who they were and who they were meant to be. And since it was the first time I saw it, experienced it, I was just kind of like, what is all that other than an energy field? That's what got me, is they're like, this is more than just an energy field. This is about this person. And then I didn't understand why it was still here when the person was gone. And it took a week or so for it to disappear. I wondered, why was that? But as you were bringing up, that sphere contains all about who they are, what they wanted to do. They're not just, to use your words, a drop in the bucket. There's billions and billions of people, and somebody dies, and there are people dying right now, all over the place. But who knows them, and who, you're not around their sphere to know. So I wonder if in the hospital, hospital or a battlefield, or somewhere, if you would feel that there would be a sense of all these people's spheres, even though they're dead, or they're just about to take their last breath, or they're dying, or whatever is happening as they die, or just as they died, if you could tell. Oh, I know what it's like. Alderaan.
Ah, yes. Yeah, Star Wars reference number 1.
When it was Leia up there? Leia and Luke?
No, it was Obi-Wan and Luke, and Obi-Wan sits down, and he's very visually shaken. He's like, as if I heard a million voices cry out at one time and were silenced. And so you could feel it in the Force that there's been a horrible, like there's now a vacancy there. Well, I definitely, so I don't know about, like, again, when I was really thinking about what was grieving me so much, it wasn't, and began because there was no physical proximity to them when it happened. I don't know, like the energy and everything, but I just thought, like, for me, this tablet has particular meaning to me. There are dreams that I've had since I was a kid. There are images, I think of Jerry Rice means something to me as a child in context that he doesn't mean to anybody else. And there's, so every interaction that I have in this world, everything has significance to me for different reasons and in different ways. And that's what it was. It was like Hannah, I knew what her dreams were. I knew what she was passionate about. I knew what she wanted to do. I knew, what she was striving for. And I knew the connection she had with her family and all those relationships and what she meant to those people and what she was in the process of doing. And when she passed away, it wasn't just Hannah's gone. It was all those relationships with subjects, with books. She loved Lord of the Rings. Like that relationship that she had with that there's a significance to that.
Yeah.
And somehow, and it's weird to think, but that connection, that relationship is gone. And, while I think of everything in film, in terms of film, I'm like a main character in my own movie. Everybody else is a
just a co-star.
You're my co-star.
Prop? Did you say prop?
No, I meant these are props. These physical things. These are. Sorry, darn lav mics. But that's kind of the way it is for everybody. Unless we actually do the whole Jesus thing and put others first. Unless we're purposely doing that, we can find ourselves where you think, well, this is my mother. That's who she is. To me, that's the relationship, as it were. But she's somebody's daughter, and she's somebody else's friend. Like there's more to her, but this is how I relate to her. So there's very specific ways. This is my condo, but when I'm gone, it's nobody's condo. But to me, it had a special significance. So it's not tendrils, because that just sounds creepy. But it's like there's all these connections, and so that when that person goes, it's that void of everything that they were and everything that they were going to be, trying to be, the potential it kind of goes with them. And so there's just so many unfulfilled things, or so many things where you're going, hey, this was not the end for them, or wasn't supposed to be necessarily.
Or even if it was, whether they died premature or they die at 100 or 95, still all that goes with them, and nobody knows everything about that person. Mm-hmm. It was in their sphere, it was around them, in them, it was alive. It was alive with all kinds of relationships. It's like when you go into somebody's room that died, or their home, their bedroom, their home, their personal belongings, and you start going through them and you think, I wonder what they were doing with this thing, this a particular object, and what did that mean to them? And like I have a little rock, we're not quite sure what it is. We think it's the person that handed it to me, I don't think it was a person, but that's a different story. Very interesting one. Said it was tourmaline. And it's just sitting on a shelf. But if I don't tell the story of how I got this little rock, anybody that goes in goes, why does she have this little blue rock? Wouldn't even know it was valuable. You know, why does she have this little rock sitting on the shelf? What is that about? Why would she take that rock?
Right.
Or the big rocks that I have in the living room that I've collected from all over the U.S. You know, if nobody knew the stories or nobody knew, they'd be like, what does she got with all these rocks? and so then that's with any person, with Hannah, with Larry, all of their inner desires, who they were, how they thought, how their thoughts came together in all their relationships. Just, I mean, places that you go, places that you stop, or you're driving and you stop even for a few minutes and you get out and you look and, I don't know, let's say you're looking, you know, you're at a rest stop off of some highway on some road in the United States somewhere, and you've never lived there, you've never been there, and so you get out because you kind of want to look at the area, and you're just like, wow, and all the thoughts that go through your head and connect, and the people that you're thinking about, and then what I would tell about. You know, I stopped on the rest stop, and you know what I saw? But I only tell one person, I don't tell a bunch of people. And it's all, when you go, eventually, I don't know how fast all of this disappears. Can it disappear fast with them, or does it always take a couple days to disappear? But it all goes, and then it becomes huge. It's not you know, there's people dying we don't know, but they're not some small. Yeah. Tiny little, like you said, drop in the bucket of billions of people. It's a huge part of what's going on the planet that's now not here. Everything that you were thinking about with Larry, everything that you were thinking about with Hannah, and just a little bit that he shared with me about Hannah and the sword it is a sword, a dagger.
Well, I mean, it's a dagger for humans, but a sword for a hobbit. Sting.
Yeah. He has two of them, and who would know why in the world he has two of them unless you know the story of Hannah? And he hasn't told me everything about Hannah, but unless I know the story about Hannah and who Hannah was to Jesse and who Jesse was to Hannah, they'd be like, what in the world you got two of those for? They're slightly different, but not really. And well, there's a huge story that when he goes to heaven at 120,
oh, boy.
oh, no, wait, no.
As long as I have my hair and I'm ambulatory and I can.
I got your teeth?
Got my teeth, yeah. There's definitely criteria. If I'm going to live to be 120, which I'm totally fine with, but I definitely need to have certain criteria met for that to be something I want to do. Yeah. And same for you as well.
Yeah. Right. So then it's multiplied. All of that with you. That was of Hannah goes with you.
When you want to console somebody, I think one of the best things you can say, and I don't know, I said it, they didn't tell me if this worked or not, but the phrase "gone but not forgotten," because the biggest thing is that for them, it's that, you know, we say, well, we carry them with us in our memories, in our stories, and it's like, but it's not necessarily just them as a person. You're carrying part of that influence, part of that sphere, part of that element of them. Larry touched a lot of people. He had a big reach. Same thing with Hannah. There are some people that pass away that don't have as much of that, but they still, and that makes it even harder because the people that don't know them, they're like, but nobody knows what they went through. Nobody knows what they sacrificed. Nobody knows their struggles. Nobody knows that. But to have that acknowledgement, to have at least one of the persons, somebody just say, I saw them, I acknowledge them, they were here. That's why, you see people scroll and they do go to all this effort just to say, so-and-so was here. It's about I existed. I had an impact. I wasn't just nothing. There was something there. And it's like, but the good news is we all have that. That always is there.
Everybody has
it's just the more people, or if somebody can acknowledge that or see that and say that to you, they're gone but not forgotten. I'm not going to forget them. Right. And even with, like you were saying, there's some objects where you look at and go, like, why do they have that? What was the significance there? There was I actually was in Hannah's room after the celebration service. I was able to be in there and I could see.
Oh, I don't think you told me that.
Here it is.
See? Now I'm finding out. Wow.
And I wanted to, because her parents were very welcoming. Her family was very welcoming. They invited me over, had lunch there and everything with them, and was able to talk with them about Hannah. But they did show me her room, but I went in there and just to see like this. the bed. These were this was. I mean, granted, I know she was in a lot of pain, but like this was the bed that gave her the comfort. This is where she was laying. So that bed had extra significance. I saw the Funko Pops, the little figures of the different Lord of the Rings characters, and it was like that's what she was facing those. So when she was laying in bed, when she was awake, when she was able to be awake, like that was kind of what she was able to see. And so there were just all these things that they have so much more importance. They have so much more weight, even though I don't care about a Funko Pop. But those I cared about. Those have significance because they meant something to her.
Yeah.
So you're able to kind of, you can tell when certain objects have meaning. And I realized this for the first time, this is going to sound superficial, second Star Wars reference. And the newest versions, they blow it because they changed the music. I don't know why, but in The Empire Strikes Back, we watched the entire movie with Han, Leia, and Chewie, mostly in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. And even though Han and Leia have their first kiss elsewhere in the ship, they have a lot of their interactions in there. And he's in the captain's seat when they have a moment when Lando and is talking about that they're going to go after Han, to rescue him. They have this very kind of somber music, and they just do the slow push in on the cockpit. And so it was like that cockpit. It's a junky freighter. It's this clunky junky freighter, but because the significance, that's Han's ship. That's where he spent the time there. That's where this relationship between him and Leia was fostered. This is where him and Chewie had their thing. That empty pilot seat. Yeah. Means so much, or it has such a significance. It always tweaked me. I never cried, of course, I never cried, but it was something that kind of hit me in the feels because it's an emptiness. And if Harrison Ford had his way, he would have stayed empty because he didn't want to come back for Return of the Jedi. He wanted that to be his end. And I'm like, come on, dude. So Lucas, that was one of the best things Lucas did was push him. No, let's give you a fitting ending here. Yeah. And of course, Disney trilogy blew that away, but unceremoniously. But we want to transition here because it's not just about the death. I mean, it is. Obviously, I don't think we were being depressing about it. It wasn't like, oh, death. Yeah. But you just understanding a little bit of why you feel so much of the emptiness, even because part of my puzzling, and I felt a little bit bad, but it was like, because we didn't have that daily interaction, it wasn't like, my day-to-day just changed. Whereas if, somebody closer were to go, it's like, oh, this is somebody that I used to call all the time. This is somebody I used to talk to all the time, and they're not there. It was a little bit different, but I was like, but it still really hit you. I was still coping with it and crying about it and just mourning. And it was, I think, that where you just realize, oh, it wasn't just that part that I could, contact, the voice on the other end of the phone. It was everything about them. But the good news is when they leave, so in Hannah's case, or anyone, well, I don't think it matters. I think even if you die at 90, that's 90 down here. So if you believe in God and the scripture and stuff, people were living a long time ago to 800, 900 years, 300 years, had a lot longer. So 90 maybe is good for now, but it's not necessarily, if we could have lived to 300 or 400 or 600. So I don't think it matters on what age, but especially the younger you are, because I had a baby die at birth having her, and we had her crib. We had the baby room all set up, and we had my favorite little black patent leather, baby shoes for like 3-month-old or something. And, also all this stuff. When I eventually came back home from the hospital and was aware of everything, because it was in shock, because it was very tragic. Everything in that baby room was gone. Everything was gone. And I did have months and months later in the depth of grief and crying and earnest prayer and all of that stuff. I actually had the wall completely disappear and like another realm was there. So it wasn't like my imagination or I was asleep or I was whatever. Literally is like the whole wall just disappeared and there was an angel standing there holding her. And it was very surprising to me because she didn't wave or move. She was there, and the talking was kind of like mind to mind. And she said, "Hi, Mom," and I was like,
And she had green eyes. I didn't expect her to have green eyes. I thought she'd have brown eyes. So she's baby, full baby in an angel's arms. And that was kind of the beginning of this is not the end here. This is the people that pass, whether they're babies, they're older, whatever, you continue on in heaven, continuing your life's call, your purpose, how you were created, what you were created for, all in you just step over. To us, it's like, oh, they're dead, they're in the ground, that's just the body, but the rest of the person, their spirit and soul, just step into another realm and continue on. Get to continue on their all that potential, everything, all their memories. They're waiting for people that they knew, and everybody up in heaven knew things that meant something to them down here. All the stuff that we don't know, all that's in heaven.
So we don't all become harpists, just strumming and going, holy, 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 holy.
Eating grapes eternity. Once in a while on a cloud. No, yeah. That's a whole world, way bigger than the earth, of however many billions and billions of peoples continuing going there. You just continue on. You just step over there and continue on and continue what you were created to do, and you keep growing and keep maturing and keep learning. It's just there. There's no pain and suffering and crying and evil and chaos, and you get to keep going.
So it's not so much that the sphere disappears or that it's gone or that it's destroyed or that it's lost. Yeah. They've taken it with them.
Yes.
It's not here. We feel that emptiness here because it's no longer here. They've taken it with them. It's theirs. Like I said, they're the lead in their own story. What are we going to do with their sphere? What are we going to do with all this stuff? So they take it with them, and they're able to move forward beyond with it. So I mean, it's another layer of celebration. It's not just celebrating what they did here, but that even though we are going to feel that, which is great. It's actually kind of I think it's a wonderful thing to feel that loss. Like it hurts, but it's like it lets you know, wow,
they're somebody.
Yeah.
They meant some. That was just what you said. It's impossible to forget someone who gave us so much to remember. And even if it's one person, if this person only knew one person or two people versus 100 or thousands, it's still two people that they made a difference to, and it was a big deal. And so their whole person, even if it's just two people, will feel the loss of that person.
And so that's you. We're wrapping up here. I think we got a little bit of time, but I mean that's I guess the takeaway as well is that's you. You may feel insignificant. You may feel like a drop in the bucket, but there is so much to you. There's so much that you have an impact in the relationships, even again the things you have, the things you're striving for, the things you want to do. That's there, and it is felt. And it's not. We don't want to focus on, well, when you go, people are going to feel lost. I mean, yes, that's there as well, but that there's so much more to you than just a drop. And even though we're talking all the time in the news and everything, it's billions of people or millions of people or what have you, the significance is there for everybody. And again, this is a proving grounds. It's a unique experience as far as we know, in terms of what happens afterward, but that we're going to be able to take all of this with us. It's part of our belongings. We're going to go on another leg of the journey.
But you have potential, huge amounts of potential. And if nobody has ever said to you, you have potential, just because you haven't been in an arena or around parents or anybody. I wanted to be a dancer and an Olympic swimmer. Could have been either if I hadn't gotten sick 3 years in a row. And they said, you have great potential. And I did. It ended up getting used somewhere else, but you have that potential. Even if you have never heard anybody say you have potential, it's in there, it's around you. You just have to learn and find out what that is.
Preach.